So I'm pretty sure at this point Marvel could just like get a dart and throw it at a board covered in all of their most obscure heroes and still get a pretty good movie out of it. Ant-Man, starring Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, and Michael Douglas, is the latest in Marvel's standalone movies. And in the vein of all their standalone movies, it's very stylistically different to everything that's come before it. This time round, we got ourselves a heist film. And because of that, the story is kept relatively simple. The bad guys have something and the good guys want to get it back. Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. Now, he's been out of commission for a fair while now, so he hires Scott Lang, played by Paul Rudd, to go into the bad guy's lair and get the thing he wants back. And his daughter, played by Evangeline Lilly, is pretty much along for the ride. This movie felt very middle ground for all of Marvel's movies that have come previously, and because of that, there's some good points and there's some bad points. I'm hit you up first off with the good points. The performances across the board in this movie are pretty solid. Paul Rudd as Scott Lang is pretty funny. I've always been a big fan of Paul Rudd ever since I saw him in The 40-Year-Old Virgin way back in the day, and I've loved everything he's done since then. Michael Douglas makes for a pretty good Hank Pym, but the guy who steals every single scene he is in is Michael Pena. He is so funny in this movie. Like I said, he steals every single scene that he is in. He is laugh out loud hilarious, and he's definitely worth the price of admission alone. The other thing this movie has going for it is, like I said, the comedy. It is a very, very funny movie. There's plenty of laugh out loud moments to be had. And the action in this movie is great. I was really worried going into it how they were going to do the action scenes, especially with Scott Lang going from big to small, big to small, big to small. But thankfully there was no shaky cam. All the action shots were filmed brilliantly. And on top of that, the special effects were great across the board. That was another thing I was really, really worried about going into this. Seeing the trailers, I'm like, oh, those special effects don't look too great. But trust me, once you get in there in the cinema, they look fantastic. Now for some of the bad points. And going into this movie, there was a few production issues. Edgar Wright was originally penned to write and direct this movie. And there's still a lot of his hallmarks present in this movie, and he still gets a producer and writing credit at the end of the movie. But having some of his style still present in this movie, along with what they changed to keep it within that sort of theme of the Marvel movies up until this point, makes the movie feel very, very disjointed in some spots. The pacing of this movie really does suffer because of that fact. A lot of scenes you go, yeah, that was an Edgar Wright scene, and then a lot of the scenes were like, yeah, they definitely changed that to fit in with Marvel's style a lot more, and the movie does suffer because of that. Also, the finale to this movie did feel very, very rushed, and I felt there were a lot of scenes middle of the movie that could have been made a little bit shorter to give more time to that big finale. However, all the parts of this movie that directly tie into the cinematic universe thus far really do make up for that sort of back and forward pacing. Everything done to tie this in is done so goddamn well. And even though Ant-Man is a very lesser known property, he was one of the original Avengers in the comic books, so it made sense that they would eventually bring Ant-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they did it in such a way that he feels like he fits straight away. And yes, as seen in the trailer, Anthony Mackie, or Falcon, is in this movie, and the way they use him to tie Ant-Man into the cinematic universe is done brilliantly, and it's one of the best scenes in the movie. Like I said, this movie is very, very middle of the rung for Marvel, but like I said, it does tie in very, very well to the Marvel Universe, and he's going to fit seamlessly in to Civil War and Infinity Wars after this. I don't expect there to be another standalone Ant-Man movie, but I will say the solo movie is one hell of a ride while it lasts. It's funny, it's action-packed, it ties in well, but there is the pacing issues, and with that said, I'm giving Ant-Man 3.5 out of 5 Paul Rudds. So have you seen Ant-Man? What did you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Click here for all your movie needs, and as always, I'll catch you in the next one.